Instagram being weird.
We're live.
Oh, we're live. Goodness gracious. Danny Palm just sprung it on me. I'm over here trying to get a push notification going for the show before the show. I'm going to talk sideways into the mic like a cool guy. This is how cool musical artists use their mics. So this is what I'm going to do now. This is the coolest way to talk into a mic. Danny Palm leaving the building. You guys can't see it, but Danny Palm just left. So we're in here for the show before the show. There is a show at noon. This is the show before the show where we talk about all kinds of shenanigans. If you have a shenanigan-worthy topic, leave it in the chat. I'll address it. I'll address anything. Let's go. We got Andrew Paula in the chat already. What a guy. I know your phone just lit up, Andrew, and it said 247 Fighting Championships is live now, and you were like, I got to hear what these boys got to say. And what I got to say is Andrew Paula's the man. That's it. Go follow him at Andrew Paula PGH. He is not only the part of the dynamic duo of Chris Bermudo and Andrew Paula on Fight Night for photography, but my man is also one of the biggest UFC fans you will ever meet. An inspirational story in general, as you guys get to learn more about him, which, spoiler alert, you will soon. There may be an Andrew Paula podcast. I'm just saying. Maybe something like that might be happening. And part 3, he's branching out. I've seen him as the official photographer of Yinzer Boxing, I believe. 247 Hall of Famer. Chris Williams' boxing school, Yinzer Boxing. Paula's doing photos for them too. So my man is really spreading his roots in the local MMA scene while maintaining that UFC fever that he's addicted with. He got it. And Jared Billy says it looks really cool. Keep it up, buddy. Thanks, Jared. I think we all look really cool. Everybody at 247 just looks really cool. We got Nico in the chat, Jim Taylor in the chat, Seth Donovan in the chat, all kinds of fighters. This chat, pound for pound, will kick any chat's ass. Like week over week. If you could just get the people that watch our live streams and put them in a room, I'd take our room against pretty much any other room out there. Let's go. There's some bad dudes here. How you feeling today, Danny Palm? What's new in Danny Palm land?
Hello, people.
Perfect.
You know, same old.
I mean, same old in Danny Palm land. No travel. Do you have any travel plans coming up? You've been like, I was going to say world traveler, but it's more USA traveler this year. What you got coming up next?
Nothing like really on the schedule right now. I've got something planned, but it's not, no dates yet.
Okay. All right. Fair enough. Very chill. I mean, you've had a busy summer already, so it makes sense to kind of taper off a little bit. But I do want to say on the show before the show, I want to preview the show we're about to have. It's just me and Danny Palm, and it is a BitB 23 exclusive show. We've got BitB 23 coming up September 21st. Tickets go on sale in 4 minutes at noon. Let's go. Tickets will be on sale. 247fighting.com, or just Google Brawl in the Burgh 23 and go directly to Eventbrite, or follow us on Eventbrite, which apparently is a thing you can do. And then you just get notified every time we have a new event. And buying straight from Eventbrite could not be easier, ladies and gentlemen. It literally doesn't get any easier than that. And we're going to make a fight announcement too. So we've already announced Justin Patton versus Ryan Cafaro, which we're going to talk about. I'm going to save the talk for that because holy crap-o, what a fight. And then we're going to talk about Taylor Cahill versus Brogan Andres as well. Holy cow, what a fight. And then we're going to drop a third fight on you, and maybe even a fourth fight on you, depending on how I'm feeling, because we've got a solid little cluster signed for you guys already that we're just sitting on all this knowledge. You don't even know what we know. You don't even know. You think you know? You don't know what we know. And we have a couple others verbaled that we just need to get across the finish line. We got Austin Warman in the chat. What's up, dog? With the eye emojis. Austin Warman in here. What could Austin Warman's eye emojis be hinting at? I have no idea. I mean, if you know, you know. But like I said, you don't know what we know, so you don't know. But if you knew, you would know. And only we know. And you're about to know. But spoiler alert. I have to break your heart, Austin. The fight announcement is not you, but I did just kind of give away that Austin might be making his MMA debut on September 21st. I mean, I'm just saying, he might be. He probably is. And if you're watching the show before the show, that's the kind of stuff you deserve to know. We're getting a lot of air horns this show before the show, and I'm here for it. I feel like I'm spitting fire right now, Danny. Let's go.
Hell yeah.
I thought one more was coming. It's all right. Got my bottle of water today. I think I've had about 40 ounces of coffee and 40 ounces of water so far today, and I've had to hit the restroom like 6 times just since I've been at the office. So,
Dude, I had some coffee today. It was way too strong.
Whoa,
some espresso in it.
Dude, do you drink coffee?
Not like sometimes I will, and then like I won't for months.
I was gonna say I've never seen you with a
like,
coffee. I've seen you with plenty of energy drinks, obviously, but never a coffee.
Yeah, but I had to give those up. So
this
week I've been drinking coffee, and yeah, it's way too strong.
Yeah, nice, dude. Did you make it here? You made a coffee here?
No, I bought it on my way.
Where at?
Dunkin'.
I
don't know.
All right, Dunkin' versus Starbucks, Danny Palm. What do we got? And chat, leave your answer too. Watching the podcast.
I mean,
Dunkin' versus Starbucks.
Starbucks, but like I'm not a huge coffee person. Like if I'm go to Starbucks, I'll get a chai tea latte, oat milk, 2 shots of espresso.
That's a legit order. Let's go. I like that. I'm with you 100%. By the way, I think Starbucks clears Dunkin' pretty easily for me. I don't know what this might be even more of a hot take, but even Starbucks bagels are better. Like I would rather eat at Starbucks also. I think most people think Dunkin' Donuts, obviously known for their donuts. Imagine that. But they have breakfast sandwiches, bagels, all that other stuff too. I think even Starbucks' food is better, man. Get some of those sous vide egg bites. Get some everything bagel. Their everything bagels are real good for some reason. They also like got cheese on them, which is like crazy talk, but I love it. Dunkin's trash. Starbucks all day. Jim Taylor says Dunkin' all day. Starbucks coffee tastes like burnt despair. I will address that, Jim Taylor. Starbucks for sure over roast their beans like crazy. They are super over roasted and burnt. There's something about it I like. I like feeling like I'm drinking a cigar in the morning. And that's what Starbucks does for me. Jared Billy, gotta be a hipster, Jared, says Panera coffee. To be thinking outside the box or going against the grain. Jared Billy's like Starbucks or Dunkin', Panera. Freaking Jared Billy, man. What a guy. What an absolute guy. Ride Dog in the chat says Starbucks sucks. I'm not saying it's the best. I'm just saying that compared to Dunkin', it's a clear, like, it's a 10-8 round for Starbucks, in my opinion.
That's Ryan's got his own 247 brew going here at the office.
Yeah, we got a pretty nice little espresso machine here ourselves. It's a Breville Barista Express, and I only know what it is because I have the same exact machine at my house. So that thing does make a really nice cup of Joe espresso machine. It is, it's a little. Ryan has how many shots a day, Danny Palm? How many shots of espresso a day we saying Ryan has? It's a lot.
I don't know.
He
drinks a couple cups a day.
Yeah, keeping in mind, I'm sure he's only pulling double shots out of that thing. He doesn't seem like a single shot kind of guy. So every time he goes, he's getting a double shot. And just when I'm here, he makes 3 to 4 trips to the espresso machine. It's Rye Dog's heart is a bit of a concern to me. Not quite Glenn Christner levels, but
yeah, you could throw a couple ghosts in there with the coffee.
Throw a couple ghosts in there with the coffee and the stress of being a fight promoter. I mean, it's not the best time. See, he literally just commented, "What's a single shot?" I knew it. Seth Donovan says Dutch Bros all day. I don't know Dutch Bros.
That's a good call, honestly.
Where is that? I don't know that.
I mean, they're not in PA, I don't think, but they're like. I stopped at one when I was going cross country. It was good.
Nice, dude.
I think I was in like New Mexico. I don't know.
Oh, okay. If it's like a West Coast thing, then I can't even include it in the rankings. We got Italian Bull 74 in the chat, which Mr. Nate LaRocco. You guys may remember him from Sprawl on the Burgh. Funny enough, Austin Warman in the chat earlier, he grappled Austin Warman. So Nate LaRocco, why Danny Palm? Can you think of any reason Nate LaRocco would be in this chat right now? Is there something happening with Nate LaRocco? I don't know. We'll get to that in a second, I guess. But maybe there is. And Andrew Paula, Seth Donovan both said, yeah, Dutch Bros big in Arizona and the West Coast. So that makes sense. I've never had it. It's probably great. I believe you guys. I think locally, do you have a favorite local coffee shop, Danny Palm?
No, if I'm gonna go get coffee, it's usually at Starbucks. But I was passing a Dunkin' today, so
Fair. This is where my hipster card can
yeah. What
really
about
shine.
you?
This is where my hipster card can definitely shine because I think I've had most local coffee shops and I'm a big fan of most of them. I love Defer in the Strip, but I love La Prima in the Strip even more. Defer for the food, coffee, vibe, experience. If you need to go work somewhere in the morning, Defer in the Strip is the move all day, every day. I have a lot of lunch meetings there or breakfast meetings there. If people are always like trying to meet me somewhere, I'll be like, yeah, let's go to Defer in the Strip. Just a great area in general.
What is the worst coffee you've ever had?
The worst coffee I've ever had oh man. I'm sure like some random gas station coffee takes the cake, but in terms of coffee that I thought was going to be good and just wasn't, man, I hate to circle back to Dunkin', but I just feel like every time I go to Dunkin', I'm like, why did I just do this? I don't know. I don't know if I'm asking for the wrong thing, but it's always like super milky, like not strong at all. I feel like I always need to ask for extra espresso and less ice. I don't know. Dunkin' is just for me, it's a smear. Like if you ever see me at a Dunkin', you'll know I'm desperate. You'll be like, Hunter is really going through something right now. Yeah. Well, I see there. My wife in the chat said McDonald's is the worst she's ever had. I will say,
Yeah, that's a good answer.
that's a great answer. And there are times where McDonald's coffee is actually really good. Like I've had surprisingly good coffee at McDonald's, but I've also had coffee at McDonald's that I literally had to throw away. So that hit or miss quality of it is a little rough, a little rough.
The last time I got McDonald's coffee, I like got it and then I spilled it all over my car and never again.
Nice. That'll do it. That'll do it right there. Although I will say McDonald's breakfast in general, I'm going to go out on a limb, Danny Palm. Underrated.
Oh, for sure.
Underrated.
I agree.
A sausage, egg, and cheese McMuffin, dude, still absolutely slaps. The steak bagel, I never knew. I never knew about the steak bagel till I was an adult. And then I tried it. I was like, that's actually really good. Like, it's not real steak. I don't know what the meat is, but it's good.
I don't know that I would try that.
Danny's like, yeah, not for me. Not for me. I'm not going there. But aside from breakfast and coffee, that was a fun little discussion. I like that. I could probably keep going, but I'm going to cut it off for us. I am going to get to the point here. First of all, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the official podcast. We're way past noon at this point because we've been rambling, but this is the podcast where we tell you right now tickets to Brawl in the Burgh 23, September 21st, Monroeville Convention Center, Monroeville, PA. They are live right now at 247fighting.com. They just went live. And let me tell you guys something. Let me give you a little inside scoop of the fight game. The way this works is fighters can sign tickets, right? You guys, if you're listening to this podcast, you probably understand that fighters sell tickets. Now, based on the fights that we already have signed, a lot of tickets are already consigned based on those fighters knowing what they need to sell and have lined up people saying that they'll come see them. Also, our sponsors get tickets. No surprise there. So, all that is to say, before tickets even go on sale, a lot of tickets are spoken for. So, I urge you to go to that map, 247fighting.com, buy your tickets, go to Eventbrite to get your tickets. When you look at that map, you're going to see what I mean. Danny Palm, this show is going to be bananas. Like if you want a front row ticket, a front row table, I literally think there's one table left already, and tickets went on sale at noon. Like that's how ridiculous the pre-sale demand and the card we've assembled that you're going to keep seeing is Justin Patton versus Ryan Kafar. We talked about Taylor Cahill versus Brogan Andres. We talked about it. I'm about to drop another fight on your heads for fun. We're going to do that, and it's another one that's going to be insane. Kenneth Mathis, real quick. I got to jump back because I just saw the comment. He's saying that Starbucks cake pops are fire too, and 100% correct. 100% correct. The cake pops are fire at Starbucks. Look up Top Slime MMA on YouTube. Dwayne James says, okay, yeah, Let me look up Top Slime. Is he a fighter? Is that a fighter or a channel? What are we talking? Does Top Slime want to fight for us? Let's go, Top Slime. My dad in the chat says the order is a tall blonde at Starbucks. And I don't even think he had to say at Starbucks. I think he just, a tall blonde in general is the move. We had, whenever Starbucks started making the flat white, my dad loved it. Like I ordered him one because I was like, you're going to like this. He doesn't really get real adventurous. He's mostly just like plain drip coffee with some half and half. But I was like, try a flat white. Like you're going to love it. He went to order it himself one time and said tall blonde instead of flat white. I mean, real close. Almost nailed it, Dad. Same drink, basically the same thing. I think he got the point across though and got his coffee.
Yeah, did they understand?
I forget how it went actually, because I think they were selling their blonde roast at that time. Like they were doing a blonde roast. So I'm guessing he got that. Or my mom corrected him and apologized for his behavior per usual. So there's that. It's so ridiculous. But Burgh 23. Stay on topic. Stay on topic. I'm all coffeeed up. Like I said, I've had like 40 ounces of coffee, dude. I'm hype right now and need this water. 1 second. Yes, Ryan is correct. The cake pops are delicious, but they cost $20 and probably cost like 17 cents for Starbucks to buy. It is ridiculous. The markup, the freaking markup. Tell you what's not marked up. Brawl in the Burgh 23 tickets, Danny Palm. On sale right now. Front row tickets, like I said, I believe there is one table available. If you buy that table, buy the whole table. I dare you. If you buy it, we'll do something for you. I don't know what. Free shirt. I'm always giving out free shirts that I may or may not actually give out because people don't do what I say. But if you buy that table today, buy the table today. I'll give you a free shirt when you show up. Any size, any style you want. Come to the merch table and get your shirt. I'll do it. Ethan Jones, where's this next fight going to be? It's at the Monroeville Convention Center, brother. We are 100% locked in with the Monroeville Convention Center. That's a great question because there was last week, we opened up a possibility of it being at our new venue in North Versailles, which still technically could be on the table in terms of a timeline. Like we may get to September 21st and be like, wow, we could have had it there, but we're not risking it. It's not fair to the fighters. It's not fair to the Monroeville Convention Center or us, frankly, for planning purposes to not know for sure. So even though the venue still might be technically ready by then, we're not risking it. So it's at the Monroeville Convention Center, and almost certainly the next one after that will be at the new venue, which is TBD, but you already know. You already know once we announce that it's going to be a very big deal. And we're already targeting some fights for that one too, Danny Palm. I mean, how would you guys feel about seeing Lucas Siebert at the venue debut? Just saying. Just saying you might see that. So Ethan loves Monroeville Convention Center also. Follow-up comment from him. So that's awesome. Happy to hear that. I totally agree, dude. Not only is the venue really nice and spacious, it has all the amenities you would need. It's very comfortable in there. Good, great environment. But the people that run the Monroeville Convention Center are honestly freaking awesome. Like we've had less than awesome interactions with venues before, and it seems to be the nature of the event business where venues are just kind of difficult to work with, not willing to compromise, not willing to budge, setting extremely high prices on everything, charging you for everything. That's just not the case with the Monroeville Convention Center. It's really not. The people there we have a great working relationship with, and they're freaking awesome. Like we had so many fights this last card, June 29th, we had that doubleheader. And we buy like, I don't even know how many cases of water, 6, 8. It was a ton. We had so much water backstage in the coolers for the fighters and coaches, but we blew through it once, had some extras, refilled, blew through it again. And we were like, there was still like half the card for Bippy 22 to go. We're like, well, this isn't good because now we're out of water completely. And there's still like 12 fighters that need to fight and they're going to want water. So went to Monroeville Convention Center. They had some stashed up and hooked us up with their water. So that's just one that seems like a very small example, but I promise you most venues don't go out of their way to do that for the people's space. They would have said, tough luck. There's a Sheets right down the road. I would hit that up, but not Monroeville. So shout out Monroeville Convention Center. Yins are awesome, and we appreciate that immensely. So, should we do a fight announcement, Danny Palm? I said we would do a fight announcement. I think it's about that time to do a fight announcement. We said Mr. Nate LaRocco was in the chat earlier. 3-3, amateur welterweight from Ohio. You guys may remember him from Sprawl in the Burgh. What I love most about Nate LaRocco, his well-rounded game. Not only is he well-rounded, but on the feet or on the ground, this dude is the definition of aggression. All he wants to do is finish fights, period. And throughout his career, it's finish or get finished, but 100% success rate for exciting fights. So if you book Nate LaRocco in a fight, you know right off the bat, this is an exciting fight. So that's exactly what we did. We're pairing up Nate LaRocco versus fan favorite, multiple-time 247 FC vet, Mr. Chase Boyd. Let's go. Chase Boyd versus Nate LaRocco at a catch weight of 165 pounds, which I like because Chase is actually working his way down to 155. That's a fun nugget for Yins who care. But you may see Chase Boyd at 155 in the future, which is awesome. So this is kind of like him working his way down from 170 to 155 instead of doing it all at once. This is a 165 catch weight. Nate LaRocco versus Chase Boyd. Chase, who, by the way, is now a black belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, and this is what makes me love Nate LaRocco even more. That made him want to fight more. He's like, oh, the new black belt wants to fight me. Nice. Let's go prove him wrong. That's Nate's mentality, like through and through. And that's what I've always loved and respected about Nate LaRocco's game. Nate himself will tell you, I think I've hit him up every single event we've had since Sprawl in the Burgh to just see if he could fight for us. And he's been fighting in Cage Thunder a lot, which I understand it's closer to him in Ohio. But I've been trying to get this dude back since then. So to have him versus Chase as the fight that actually comes together, dude, that's pure fireworks. Everything I said about Nate finish or be finished directly applies to Chase as well. Chase is obviously coming off a gigantic knockout win over Des Ford in his last outing with us. He's grappled for us a few times since then and looked phenomenal. Chase is an absolute dog, one of the most talented Amis in Pittsburgh. And Nate LaRocco wants to come in and completely silence that and just shut the hometown crowd up and prove that he's actually the top dog, which massive respect. Anybody who steps up to that challenge, listen, there's not many amateur MMA fighters out there with a BJJ black belt and legit knockouts on the feet on their resume like Chase. Like, he's proven he will snap your leg or break your jaw. Like, he has that capability either way. Not a ton of guys are, chomping at the bit to get that fight. Nate LaRocco was like, I'm in, baby. Like, didn't even hesitate. I mean, it went from talking about the fight to signing the contract probably within the span of 30 minutes. So I love anytime a fighter's down for a challenge, willing to put themselves out there, and that's exactly what they got. So that's a Brawl in the Burgh 23. That is a featured advanced amateur matchup. Chase Boyd versus Nate LaRocco. The poster, I think, just posted on Facebook. We had it scheduled for the podcast for 12:15, I believe. So if you go to our Facebook, the fight poster should be there with the fight details. So love that matchup. Danny Palm, what you think about that one, boy?
That's what I think.
That's what I think, too.
No, that's a great fight.
Pumped. It really is. Dude, it's such a good fight. Getting Chase in there is always awesome. And like I said, been trying to get Nate forever in there for a fight. So let's run it. But let's talk about real quick the fights that's joining, because we've mentioned them but haven't really talked about them. And I think we'll start with Taylor Cahill versus Brogan Andres and why that's just so good, dude. I mean, coming off the heels of BitB 22 where they both competed, they both won by first round submission. I feel like this is something the UFC does all the time, and it's so obvious, but locally it's a lot harder to do because the UFC, obviously their fighters are on exclusive deals and they can basically play fantasy matchmaker, but it's real because they say, okay, let's do this guy versus this guy. There's obviously no hiccups. Like, they're both fully signed to multi-fight deals. As long as one guy isn't injured or something, that fight's going to happen. Like, that's just easier for them than us to matchmake. But when you get two guys coming off huge submission victories, I mean, Brogan and Taylor Cahill pretty much left their fights untouched. First round submissions, pretty much flawless victories in their fights at BitB 22. And then you just say, hey, those two guys should fight each other then. And it turns out sometimes that works. And this is an instance where it works. So Taylor gets a big test. Taylor's now 2-1 as a pro, coming off a huge submission victory. Now he's fighting a guy in Brogan who is an elite grappler himself. You know, Taylor is extremely confident in his grappling and for good reasons, but Brogan is a guy that you kind of don't just breeze through. I don't see that happening. I see a very competitive fight and, more importantly, an extremely skilled fight. I see a fight where both guys are well-rounded and going to be ready for whatever comes their way, which makes for an extremely exciting matchup. I honestly feel like whoever stand-up is better might make the difference, Danny Palm. It's weird when you see two super grappling-heavy guys and think this might come down to who's better on the feet, but it's kind of how I see this one. What do you think, Danny?
Yeah, I was about to say the same thing. Like, we kind of know that they both have good ground games already, so it's like, what can they do to each other on the feet?
Love it. I love that matchup for those reasons and more. I mean, it's a hype crowd for sure. You guys already know Taylor brings a big crowd, but shout out Brogan because he brought a sneaky crowd too to that fight against Nico. I feel like Nico was he was one of the top sellers on that card. He brought a giant crowd with him, but Brogan had a super solid cheering section as well, which is impressive for somebody coming from Ohio. And now coming off a big win as well, I expect even more this time around. So that's a hype fight all the way around. The crowd's going to love. And then you get to this one. Justin Patton versus Ryan Cafaro, which Ryan is the number 2 ranked featherweight in Pennsylvania. Justin Patton is the number 7 ranked featherweight in Pennsylvania and on an absolute tear. Justin Patton, if you're watching this podcast, you for sure know who he is by this point. But let me emphasize, he's been around the scene literally since he was 18 years old in Pittsburgh. He's now 29, 30. How old's Patton? 30?
I think he's 30.
30 sounds right. So we're talking 11 plus years of experience fighting. It's crazy because he's only just now 30 and just now clearly getting into his prime. He's won 6 out of his last 7. The one loss in there was a fight he was winning until a 3rd round submission that I know still eats at him to this day. So if he doesn't make that small mistake, he's got 7 straight wins, and we're very likely talking about him on Contender Series, like legit. I mean, I don't see how else to look at it. Not only winning recently either, it's worth noting winning in extremely dominant and exciting fashion. He has by far the best highlight of his career recently against Martin Hustis, a ridiculous knockout in that fight, in just an absolute slobber knocker of a fight. Like that kind of clip, that kind of performance is the thing that makes the UFC or these bigger organizations say, like, oh yeah, this is a guy we're definitely interested in. Then he goes out and does what he does to Tobias Taylor, who nobody does that against Tobias Taylor, by the way, drops him on the feet and then just completely dominates him for the duration of the fight. I mean, since Ryan's not here, somebody's got to rip on Ethan Goss. It's safe to say Justin Patton beat Tobias more thoroughly than Ethan Goss did. Straight up, the Ethan Goss versus Tobias fight was closer than the Patton versus Tobias fight. So Patton is just, he keeps leveling up. He keeps hitting a new level. And he's going to need it because Ryan Cafaro is an entirely different level of competitor who, by the way, Cafaro himself could very well be on the Contender Series right now because he's coming off an extremely controversial split decision. But that aside, is on an absolute tear as well. He's 11-6 overall. So one of these guys, kind of like an Ethan Goss, honestly, extremely experienced, hitting his stride right now, very well known in the scene. He is a guy. He is, if you're in Pennsylvania and you're looking at pro featherweights, he is one of the very top guys. You look at him and Ethan, just they're very similar. Now put Patton, who is probably the first one out. Like when you look at it in terms of like an NCAA bubble, like, okay, these are your number 1 seeds. Who's like the next tier? Patton is that very top of that next tier. But with the way he's leveling up, with the way he's been looking lately, he's coming into this fight to prove, dude, I'm not the first one out. Like, I'm on that level and actually even a little above that level. So that's Patton's challenge in this fight. And if he beats him, if Patton wins this fight, I don't know that his next fight after that will be for us. I really don't know. I can't say for sure. Obviously, none of that's ever certain. But if Patton goes to 8-3 with the winning streak he's on, and especially if he does it impressively, if he gets another highlight reel finish over Kafaro, I mean, I would expect other organizations to be knocking on his door. And honestly, ditto for Kafaro. If he comes in to Pittsburgh and just blitzes Patton and gets a ridiculous submission knockout, if he just dominates him from bell to bell, I would expect the same for him. So this is one of those fights I look at as like the winner, man. The winner is going to be on the radar of the big time players. And that's very exciting to know that this is one of those bouts that, you know, if Dana White looking for a fight came to Pittsburgh, this is that kind of matchup that he would want to be watching. So that's a very exciting fight for us to put on. And we're not done there. We've made, you know, these are now 3 fight announcements. So there's going to be more than 3 fights, needless to say, on September 21st. And you guys are going to like all of them. I am extremely stoked with the card that we've put together. So that's what Brawl in the Burgh 23 is looking like right now. Tickets are available, 247fighting.com. Like I said, they're already selling like absolute madness. It is going to be electric in the Monroeville Convention Center for sure. September 21st. This is the show, dude. I cannot wait to bring this, especially coming from June 29th to September 21st. It's a longer layoff than we normally have between shows. It's just kind of how our calendar worked. And obviously, having 2 shows on June 29th had a lot to do with that. But having this long of a layoff gives us a lot of time to prep some new things, some new production elements, really, really laser in on this one card. It's been a while since we've had only one event to think about on a day. Like it's usually Sprawl and Brawl or the doubleheader in June or something like that. It's been a long time since we could just focus on Saturday night, which feels so good right now. Like I am loving the way we're stacking this, the way we're going to be able to do this to the absolute max. So if you guys need something to do in September in Pittsburgh and fighting's your fancy, there's literally one place to be. That's the Monroeville Convention Center on September 21st, baby. We're bringing that heat, son. We got a lot of love for Justin Patton in the comments right now, by the way, which is obviously great to see. So shout out all of you in supporting the general. Obviously, he has one of the largest fan bases in Pittsburgh that just keeps growing fight over fight. But make no mistake about it, Kafaro's bringing it, dude. He's not coming in to lose this fight. He's coming in to make a statement and get his own career to the next level. So this is dog versus dog, and one of them's going up. I mean, if Patton wins, he instantly, I would assume, becomes the number 2 ranked featherweight in PA. There's only one guy above him, and that's Ethan Goss. And I hate to tell you guys, because I know your head's right where our head's at, they're never going to fight. They're extremely good friends. They're training partners. It's not worth it for either guy to derail the other one's career at this point. Now, if they were in the UFC, maybe a different story. If they fought in the UFC, maybe a different story, like Common and Devontae Smith. They would never fight regionally either. But when that opportunity presents itself in the UFC, kind of changes things a little bit. So there's that. So there is that. Yeah, man. I mean, obviously, as a fantasy, just thinking about it, Patton versus Goss is an extremely attractive fight that I would love to see a simulation of it on the UFC video game. I just know how it would go, but we don't need to see it for real. It's not worth the negative repercussions of that one. So it's not happening. I'm sorry about that, but Justin Patton versus Ryan Kafaro is, and that's plenty to be excited about in its own right. So we got some more coffee commentary. My mom,
I was just about to say,
my mom's in here going nuts with the coffee comments, which is par for the course. I think if I've had 40 ounces of coffee today, my mom's probably had 80, I would say. And I'm sure she's talking. My uncle, shout out Uncle Blaine, is out at my parents' house right now, chilling. I think he's going golfing with my dad tomorrow. They didn't invite me. That's really cool, guys, by the way. I really appreciate that, Dad and Uncle Blaine. It's cool. I actually hate golfing. I would never want to go. Like, I appreciate you not inviting me to what is certainly going to be an amazing day for the whole family and not letting me be a part of that. I love that for me. Thank you.
That's awesome.
Oh man. Yeah. So to answer your question, Danny Palm, Dad did get the blonde roast when he thought he was getting a flat white. So he was extremely disappointed in Starbucks. Mind you, it wasn't his fault. It was Starbucks' fault. They should have known what he meant. Of course they should have. Yeah. I mean, obviously. That how else would they know? So I've toyed with the idea, Danny Palm, of just laying another fight out right now, but I don't know if I should. I don't know if I should. I can't decide.
Let's do it.
I don't have a post planned for it. So
Yeah.
as soon as as soon as the podcast's over, I'll post it. It's not that big of a deal. We got the posters done. It's fully signed on both sides. It's an amateur fight that features two people who have never competed for us. I don't know. I might say it. I might say it later. I might say it later. Andrew Paula said I got no balls if I don't announce it. Well, now I kind of have to. And Jared said, you should, Hunter. Danny said so. That's true. What Danny Palm says goes, which, by the way, hang on. Before I will announce the fight. Spoiler alert. I'll say it. But everybody liked Danny Palm's list the best. One person voted for Ryan. One person voted for me. But otherwise, Danny Palm's UFC top fights list was the clean sweep. And I got to say, Danny Palm, you kind of killed it. As you went through it, I'm like, yeah, I don't even know how to poke holes in this one. Makes a lot of sense. I got too fancy with mine. That was the problem.
Yeah, I put a lot of time into that one. I appreciate it.
You also stuck to the classics, which I appreciate. It was like I tried to create a greatest hits album that had like 2 deep cuts on it, and you just gave them the straight wedding hits. You know what I mean?
Yeah. But I also I can appreciate Ryan's list too, like burying Congo, like just thinking about that fight makes me laugh.
Oh yeah, that fight is absurd, and that's that fight deserves to be on the list for sure.
And then I do think his rationale, the personal experience, I think that does matter a lot too.
Matters a ton.
They're definitely like in your head fights that you just specifically remember because where you were, who you're with. Yeah.
Now that you've thought about it even more, would you change your list at all?
No, but I think
I don't think I would either.
One that I didn't even mention for honorable mention that you put in your list, and I was thinking about it, I was like, oh wow, that's McGregor Aldo. I distinctly remember where I was and what I was doing for that one.
It was just
that's
that was just such a moment for the sport, dude. Insane.
I feel like that could be a different conversation though, best single-handed performance
for sure.
Time. And you could put him versus Eddie on there too.
Oh, him versus Eddie, I would even put above Aldo in terms of
or Garbrandt versus Cruz.
Oh, easy. Yeah. Let's do that list next. Best performances. I've already got some more in there. We got Victor Jones in the chat saying he wants a fight. He's 36 years old. He wants a fight. Where do you train, brother? Well, yeah. So in Pennsylvania, you need to be training with a accredited gym. They'll kind of vet it. They'll make sure that your coach is legit, that your training's legit, that your experience is legit. You can't just show up and say you want to fight. But that said, you may be training somewhere super legit, and I'm just not aware of it. Go to 247fighting.com, and there is a little tab at the top that says Fight for Us. And then there's a tab that drops down from that says Future MMA Fighter Form. Fill that out for us. Fill out our Future MMA Fighter Form, and that'll get you in our database. And then if we have a match for you, we gonna hit you up. That's how that works. Do we think that GSP versus Johnny Hendricks should be an honorable mention? I personally don't. I thought that fight sucked. I thought neither guy deserved to win.
So that was the first pay-per-view I ordered with my friends that we watched.
Oh man, I mean, obviously it was great in terms of nobody could really touch GSP, and then Johnny Hendricks definitely debatably won, pushed him super hard. It's kind of like Jones Gustafson, but without the action.
Yeah.
So listen, I'm not a GSP guy. I've said this on the podcast multiple times. Basically, I love GSP as a person, as a human being. I think he's super funny and sweet and good for the sport, and a great mixed martial artist, a great martial artist, a great student of the game. What he is not is a fun fighter to watch fight. He's just not. I'm sorry. It's not fun. His fights aren't fun. He's had one fun fight in the past, I don't even know how many years, and that was when he came back and beat Bisping. That was pretty amazing performance, but he also took some time off and skirted all the drug testing and then beat up an old wiltery Michael Bisping. So I'm not saying GSP was juicing his whole career, but I'm also saying that if somebody was, would you be surprised? Would you be surprised at all that the guy with an infinite gas tank, ridiculous strength, was and somehow became the best wrestler on the planet without ever having wrestled in his life? Would you be surprised that that guy was juicing? I personally would not, nor would I blame him, because during his run, there was no drug testing. You'll remember that did not come until after the Johnny Hendricks fight. GSP retired real quick when USADA came to town. That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm
TRT
saying.
season.
TRT season, baby. That's all I'm saying. I'm not saying that it's fair. I'm not saying that I'm right. I'm just saying that I personally believe it for no reason. I have no facts. I'm just blatantly smearing GSP's name like he smeared Vaseline all over himself to not get submitted by BJ Penn. Let's go. Oh, dude, we got a Vaseline comment in the chat too.
That's why you said
no. Hey, great minds, Jim Taylor. Let's go, dude. Let's go. Great minds all day. I mean, respect to that play too, though. The Vaseline. I mean, I get it. Listen, you got to take who. I mean, it's such a cliche. If you ain't cheating, you ain't trying. But I feel like some fighter also said, like, grabbing the fence, kicking them in the balls once, like getting that warning. Like, you got to do these things. I feel like it was Bisping too that went on that rant one time. I can't remember who it was, but
you got to do what you got to do.
You got to do what you got to do. You got to do what you got to do. So I totally get it. There's another fighter in the chat on Facebook. Jaharel Cromarty says he needs a fight too. Same deal, brother. 247fighting.com. Find that Fight For Us tab at the top. If you're on your computer, if you're on a phone, it's going to be like 3 lines at the top that expands a menu out. I'm sure you know what I mean. If you've used a website, pretty common thing. Expand the menu out, Fight For Us, and then Future MMA Fighter Forum. Fill that baby out. Get in our system. Chris Hustleton in the chat. What's up, dog? He said, what's the first fight you remember watching? Ooh, that's a fantastic question. The first one that I distinctly remember, and I remember the outcome and everything about it, I'm 100% sure I saw fights before this because this was the main event of a card. So I was watching that whole card, I'm sure. Randy Couture versus Tim Sylvia. It was the moment that for sure solidified that, like, I love this sport. Like, the whole backstory of it. And this was when I was still obviously a very new fan, and I'm sure I saw fights before this. But this is the one that I remember, like, literally Randy lands that huge right hand in the very beginning and drops Tim Sylvia with it. Like, first, I don't even know how early into the first round that happened. It was like immediately. And just from that moment on, I was like, oh, this is the sickest thing I've ever seen. It's the best sport I've ever seen. And I just remember the whole room we were watching it with, my cousin and my family and like some friends and stuff. There was like 20 of us in this house just going bananas when that happened. And that was the one that definitely solidified it for me. But like, I remember the Chuck Tito rivalry as well. So if those fights happened before Tim Sylvia versus Randy, then obviously I saw that. But Randy versus Sylvia is the one that I like recall as a turning point for me in terms of like, wow, this is the coolest thing I've ever seen. What about you, Danny Paul?
Yeah, for me, it was like same thing. I'd like seen fights before. Like I remember seeing like Chuck and Tito and like some older fights. But like the first one I like remember like actually watching live and like staying interested. So I was actually on vacation and like my friends were watching this somewhere and they like FaceTime me and I like watched it like through one of their phones. But it was Aldo versus Korean Zombie. And that was like a couple months before GSP versus Hendricks. So then like awesome. That happened, and
that's
then, like,
awesome.
Yeah, and then it was kind of into it, and then we ordered GSP Hendricks.
It's
pretty much seen everyone since.
It's a sport that I feel like hooks more people than any other sport I can think of. Like you don't if you see a good fight, you love the sport instantly. All you need is that one good fight, like that first good experience. Like you said, Danny Palm on the last podcast with the top 5 UFC fights, you were saying that your buddy's first fight he saw was Gaslam Adesanya. Like, yeah. Once you get in on something like that, you're gonna just chase that high. You're gonna watch football games and be like, wow, this isn't as exciting as the UFC. Like it will make you like other sports less. And I still love so many other sports, and football for sure one of them, but it's just not the same, dude. There's nothing like the energy and environment of a good MMA fight. There just isn't. Weren't you pretty big into MMA media? I'm buddies with a lot of these guys, aren't you're buddies with a lot of these guys, aren't you? Yeah, dude, I'm super friendly with a lot of them for sure. Like if you go through my phone, I can my contacts is pretty impressive at this point. I had a good run. I had a good decade-long run in MMA media and was very blessed to work for some really good companies that gave me a lot of good opportunities. Working alongside a lot of the best journalists like Ariel Helwani, Luke Thomas, Chuck Mendenhall, Dwayne Finley. I mean, I was working side by side with them and doing a lot of the same things. So it was awesome. It really was a great job. And I'm very thankful for it. But I do like this side of the business better. I will say this is way more fun. This is way more rewarding. And certainly I love being able to make an impact with our local fighters and gyms and community more than that. I mean, the UFC machine is what it is. It's not going anywhere. Journalism doesn't even really exist in MMA anymore. I'll say that. I'll say that all the writers you know and love aren't doing journalism. They're doing PR, and they're taking what the UFC gives them and running with that. And if they run contrary to that, they get their credentials stripped. So it's not much journalism happening. It's entertainment. That's why you see these guys crashing the Nate Diaz presser and asking to fight or whatever. I honestly don't even know what happened there. Some Twitch streamer, I guess, like crashed it and made a big scene. That's the kind of stuff they encourage. I mean, they're here for views. They're here for entertainment. They're here to get the name out, and that's it. They don't care about real journalism or real stories and things like that. So clearly it's worked for them. I know that sounds like a very harsh criticism of the space, and it's kind of not, because they cracked the code. I mean, look how big the UFC is, and that's a big reason why it's created this entertainment culture. It's not really a sport at that level. It's not really journalism at that level. It's pure entertainment and media, and they've absolutely cracked that code better than anybody I've ever seen do it. So full kudos to that. It's awesome, man. I mean, it was a cool job. So yeah, super thankful for that. I am leveraging my contacts in that space right now for something pretty special for you guys. So I guess we'll have to see how that turns out. Or we're working on it. We are working on it. I guess, dang, Danny, we're 40 minutes deep already. Just me and you, bro. We can rock this for an hour. Let's go.
100%.
Easy money. I gave you guys Chase Boyd versus Nate LaRocca. We're going to circle back to Brawl in the Burgh 23. Again, September 21st, Monroeville Convention Center. Tickets on sale right now at 247fighting.com. Get them things. Chase Boyd versus Nate LaRocca. But I also promised a second fight, which I'm going to give you right now. We've got American top team Happy Valley coming back to the Burgh. This team, how awesome is this team, Danny Palm? Let's be honest. How awesome.
They're all good. Everyone they bring to fight is good.
Dude. Talent out the wazoo. Preparation, insane. Coaching, insane. Training partners, insane. You got freaking Bo Nickel, Anthony Cassar showing up to support Moose and coach Moose. I mean, we're talking top
No issues
line.
with them ever.
No issues. Get their paperwork done. Show up on weight. Fight hard. Fight well. Dude, come on, son. These ATT Happy Valley guys are insane. And now we get to add a new one to the fold. Amateur flyweight debut for Mr. Gabe Cruz, who was on Penn State's boxing team. So he comes from a boxing background, which is interesting because I think when you think of ATT Happy Valley, you instantly think about wrestling. You think about Penn State in general, State College in general, Happy Valley in general. You just think of wrestling and grappling. But now you've got Moose, the national champion boxer from Penn State. He comes in, he wins dominantly at Brawl in the Burgh 22, flying that ATT Happy Valley flag. Now we've got Gabe Cruz coming in, also from a Penn State boxing background. If this dude's grappling and wrestling is legit, he's going to be a big problem. Like, you've got somebody from that gym with that boxing background who can also wrestle and grapple. You've got the makings of a future flyweight AMI champ, and who knows how much farther than that. So needless to say, we are extremely excited to welcome Gabe Cruz to the cage, and nobody's more excited to welcome Gabe Cruz to the cage than his opponent. Out of Stout, PGH. I call him Dr. Z because of the spelling of his last name. We're talking about Mr. Zach Drizmicki. Let's go. Zach Drizmicki, 2-0. Amateur flyweight, undefeated at 2-0. Has never competed for us, but is about to. And is about to get a great matchup against who I already know is going to be a super tough guy in Gabe Cruz. Zach was this close to fighting for us back in April and unfortunately suffered an injury and had to pull out like as soon as we got the fight agreed to. And funny enough, I think it was this fight, if I recall. I think this was even the opponent that we had back then. So we kind of just ran it back, and here we are. Gabe didn't get a fight in the meantime. Zach didn't get a fight in the meantime. So we're just running it fresh. September 21st, Stout PGH's Zach Drizmicki against American Top Team Happy Valley's Gabe Cruz. Huge amateur matchup with future implications. This is the kind of amateur matchup that just shows the level of amateurs now. I mean, we talk about it a lot on the podcast. You guys are probably tired of this topic, but the skill level of amateurs now in Pennsylvania is completely out of control. I mean, once you guys will see with this fight, you'll see exactly what I mean. The days of the guys who look like they just hit a heavy bag in their garage and then show up on fight day are long gone. These guys are going to look like seasoned fighters, well-rounded everywhere it goes, prepared everywhere it goes. And it's going to be, I'm already calling it. This is a fight of the night contender type matchup because both guys are insanely tough and just ready to roll. So I'm crazy excited about Drizmicki versus Gabe Cruz. Let's run that. September 21st at Brawl in the Burgh 23. You guys got 4 fights now. You know about 4 fights on this card. And if these 4 alone don't make you buy a ticket, we've got more coming your way. I already promise you that. We got more coming your way that you're going to be super stoked about. But let's be honest. Justin Patton versus Ryan Cafaro. Taylor Cahill versus Brogan Andres. Zach Drizmicki versus Gabe Cruz. And Chase Boyd versus Nate LaRocco. I'd buy a ticket just to that, Danny Palm. I'd watch those 4. Let's go. So get your tickets now, ladies and gentlemen. 247fighting.com. Let's blow this thing up. The pay-per-view live stream is also for sale right now on stream247live.com or in the 247 Live app, available on your iPhone, iPad, Android device, Apple TV, Roku, Fire TV, wherever you consume your things on a TV or on a screen. We've got an app for you. So check it out. Get the live stream. Get the tickets, though. Let's just be honest. Being there in person is so much better. Danny Palm, is anything better than the environment on fight night?
Nothing is better than the environment in a 247 fight night.
Nothing. You heard it. You heard it from Danny Palm.
I mean, that's when you can really see me amped up on fight night. Like, that's how you know.
You will never see Danny Palm hit a level of excitement and energy like he gets on fight night. That's just what it does. That's when you're there and you're feeling it. You guys know, like, have you ever watched a concert on TV? Like, even a band that you love, if you watch a concert on TV, you're like, hey, this is cool. But when you're there and you like feel it in your chest and you just get that raw emotion of like a bunch of 1,000+ people in the same place for the same reason, all hyped up about the same thing. Or I'll put it like this. How about you go to the movie theater and see a comedy, right? And it's a great comedy. Like, you're seeing a really funny movie in the theaters. Dude, you'll be laughing. Your gut will hurt when you leave. Like, the whole theater laughing, that energy of just like a bunch of people in one place for one purpose, experiencing the same thing the same way, is a super special human experience. When you go home and watch that same movie on DVD, because you're like, oh, remember how funny that movie was in theaters? Like, let's watch it with somebody who hasn't seen it. Like, let's show them and watch it with them. Like, you'll laugh and you'll chuckle, but it'll never top the way it felt in the theater that first time, raw and in person. Same exact thing for live fights. Same exact thing. You can watch UFC. Dude, I've been like, you watch UFC 300, right? You see Justin Gaethje versus Max Holloway, and that happens. That's about as hype as I've ever been watching MMA on a screen. I've been more hype at 247 events, straight up. Like, it's
awesome.
It's not close. And like, it's just something about being in person to experience it, and you got to do that. So Come on out. September 21st, we are taking over Monroeville with an insane fight card that you just straight up can't miss. So let's go. You guys are going to enjoy it. I promise. There's guys in the chat who have been. I got to get to one more comment. Guys in the comments who have been to plenty of our shows will attest to what I'm saying. I'm not just saying it to be that promoter trying to get you to buy tickets. I'm just dead serious. Like I said, it's like the difference between seeing a movie in the theaters versus at home. It's the difference between seeing a concert in person versus at home. You just don't get the same experience through a screen. It's just human nature. We do have our incredible designer, Christina, in the Facebook comments saying that Zach Drizmicki needs an award for his photos, which he does. He does. We ask every fighter to send photos, and we ask for a few different poses. It's pretty simple. It's like hands up, facing forward, right side, left side, facing forward, hands down, good lighting, and a plain background. That's it. And we even send some examples a lot of times. Zach knocked him out of the park, Danny Baum. You want to talk about somebody who showed up ready for his photos? You're talking about Zach Drizmicki. This guy hit every angle, perfect lighting, perfect angles, just like we asked. And it sounds hilarious to brag about this, but we usually don't get this. So, yeah. So shout out Zach for that. You did win the photo battle against Gabe Cruz. So now we've got a fight to settle it, though. We got a fight to settle it September 21st. And we're super amped up about it. Brawl in the Burgh 23. Tickets on sale now. You got anything to add, Danny Palm? Let's get out of here.
Oh, that's it from me. I'm out.
Dunzo. Peace out. Ladies and gentlemen, we'll see you September 21st in Monroeville.